Hello and welcome to Not Your Typical Sunday School from St. Mark's Episcopal Church in LaGrange, Georgia. My name is Alan Pruitt and I welcome you here to this class. We always approach Scripture through the lens of our three questions: who is God? Who are we? What is God inviting or challenging us to do in this reading? Today we are looking at Matthew chapter 25, verses 14 through 30. This is another parable from Jesus, the parable of the talents. Before we begin, let me read you the text. Jesus said, "It is as if a man going on a journey summoned his slaves and entrusted his property to them. To one he gave 5 talents, to another 2, to another 1, to each according to his ability. Then he went away. The one who had received the 5 talents went off at once and traded with them, and made 5 more talents. In the same way, the one who had the 2 talents made 2 more talents. But the one who had received the 1 talent went off, dug a hole in the ground, and hid his master's money. After a long time, the master of those slaves came and settled accounts with them. Then the one who had received the 5 talents came forward, bringing 5 more talents, saying, 'Master, you handed over to me 5 talents. See, I have made 5 more talents.' His master said to him, 'Well done, good and trustworthy slave. You have been trustworthy in a few things. I will put you in charge of many things. Enter into the joy of your master.' And the one with the 2 talents also came forward, saying, 'Master, you handed over to me 2 talents. See, I have made 2 more talents.' His master said to him, 'Well done, good and trustworthy slave. You have been trustworthy in a few things. I will put you in charge of many things. Enter into the joy of your master.' Then the one who had received the 1 talent also came forward, saying, 'Master, I knew that you were a harsh man, reaping where you did not sow and gathering where you did not scatter seed. So I was afraid, and I went and hid your talent in the ground. Here, you have what is yours.' But his master replied, 'You wicked and lazy slave. You knew, did you, that I reap where I did not sow, and gather where I did not scatter? Then you ought to have invested my money with the bankers, and on my return I would have received what was my own, with interest. So take the talent from him, and give it to the one who has the 10 talents. For to all those who have, more will be given, and they will have an abundance. But from those who have nothing, even what they have will be taken away. As for this worthless slave, throw him into the outer darkness, where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth.'" The parable of the talents. Jesus tells a lot of stories. Mostly, they are parables. Jesus tells a lot of stories, like this one. When Jesus is telling a parable, he is issuing an invitation to wonder at your place in the story. There isn't always a clear moral in a parable, not like a fable. There isn't even always a clear sense of what the story is about. We do know that this one is about the kingdom of heaven. Jesus starts out by saying, "It is as if." The "it" is the kingdom of heaven. The kingdom of heaven is as if a man went on a journey and entrusted some measure of his great wealth to a few of his servants or his slaves. That's what a talent is. A talent started out as a measure of weight. By the time Jesus told this story, it was commonly talked about as the largest measure of money commonly available. And because of this story, we now talk about talents in reference to our abilities, or even the gifts that God has given us. So, our first question: who is God? God is the one who trusts us. It's not too much of a leap to assume that God is the master in this story. I mean, maybe not. After all, some people call this story the parable of the wicked master instead of the parable of the talents. That is certainly possible. I wonder, how might that change your answer for who is God. But for now, I'm going to stick with the more traditional interpretation. God is the master who entrusts his servants with great wealth. Now, I don't really believe that God is absent, but God certainly feels absent from time to time. We can't always see where God is. We don't always have a good sense of the ways God is acting in the world. Maybe I like the beginning of this story because of that. It's like God is on a trip, and we are left to figure out what to do. And if that's true, or even if it just feels true, we are left with a great responsibility. God didn't just run out the door. God isn't just hiding and looking around to catch us doing wrong. God entrusts. God trusts. God is the one who trusts us to do what is right. So, who are we? Well, we are the ones who don't always get it right. But look around. Take a deeper look. I tend to focus on that last servant, the one who buried his talent in the ground. But there are 3 servants, not just the one. If I can be anybody in the parable, I'm most often going to identify with the last servant. But there are other choices. Sometimes I bury my talent, but sometimes I take the risk and blessings abound. Who are we? Who am I? Sometimes I'm the one who's too scared to act, too uncertain, too worried that I will lose my one talent. But sometimes we are the ones who act with boldness, who trust that what God has given, no one can take away. What is God challenging us to do? It would seem that God is challenging us to be bold. To bury our talent is to act out of fear. To risk the 5 or the 2 talents means that we might lose it all. But to risk also means that we are trusting God. What are we trusting when we do that? Being bold requires faith, a bit of trust. If so, what are we trusting? In what are we placing our faith? What if it is this? What if there's no way to lose what God has given you? No way save one. What if there's no way anyone can take what God has gifted you? What if the only way to lose it is to dig a hole and bury it yourself? God is challenging us to trust that God will give us gifts, and that those gifts cannot be lost. It's not an investment strategy or a fiduciary fable. It is the gifts of faith, hope, and love. God is challenging us to look at our gifts and to share them, not bury them out of fear. So what do you think? Since this is a parable, who are the different characters? Who are you in this story? And then answering that, how would you answer our 3 questions? Who is God? Who are we? What is God challenging us to do? Good luck and blessings.